we're going to have Casper Labs come on and talk about what they've been up to lately and where they're headed next. So I'm going to have them join me on screen now.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Ronald Manohar, one of the co-founders and CEO of Casper Labs. I'll begin with a short presentation about Casper Labs and what we've been doing over the last year and a half. Little context about me. I'm a computer scientist, got my master's at Carnegie Mellon University. Been investing in the blockchain space since about 2012, decentralized computing since 2002. I was an open source contributor to BitTorrent. But primarily actually worked on Wall Street at Bain Capital, and then was a TMT sector head for a long-only hedge fund. But I really, love this industry and, have been part of it since 2012. We at Casper Labs are really, really passionate about fully decentralized and fully permissionless systems. So I'll talk a little bit about the consensus protocol we use, and then I'll talk about specific problems that we're trying to solve and why Casper Labs exists. About the protocol, we are going to release the first version of provably live CBC Casper. And there's reasons why we thought CBC Casper is the right way to go. Its key feature set, we think, is completely aligned with what blockchain is all about. Now, I won't go over every single bullet point here, but you get a lot of security by punishing bad behavior. Attacks cannot revert a finalized block. But very importantly is it still maintains the full decentralization and permissionless nature that Ethereum and Bitcoin have, which we think is extremely important. Another great thing about Casper-like algorithms is they're abstract, which means they're highly upgradable. Since they don't care about the actual content of the block, they don't care too much about synchronicity, these are much easier to upgrade. And as we know, systems need to be upgraded over time. So we actually engineered the first provably live and safe implementation of CBC Casper. You can download it. I don't know if you can get the link off of here, but I'll post it in the chat. But if you go to the casperlabs.io website, it's available there. It was authored by Daniel Kane, Vlad Zamfir, and Andreas Fekler. Daniel Kane in particular is one of North America's most renowned mathematicians. He got his PhD from Harvard and has won pretty much every single math prize out there. We're really fortunate that he helped us with this. And the end result of this kind of consensus protocol is we retain everything that's great about Nakamoto consensus, being permissionless, being completely open, and having deterministic safety. But in addition to that, we also allow a higher degree of efficiency and predictable rewards, as well as we don't require the hashing difficulty to increase. Now let's talk about predictable rewards and why that's really important. In proof of work, there actually is an incentive to centralize. And the reason for that is, rewards are given randomly based on hash power. So if you have 0.5% of the hash power, you have a 1 in 200 chance of winning the block reward, which means you might not see a block reward for days or ever, in fact. So to get higher predictability, you see more cartelization and people, combining hash power. In proof of stake, your reward is only dependent on your stake. And so even small validators are allowed to participate meaningfully and have some predictability of what happens. So then let's talk about specific issues we're trying to solve. The market's telling us why they don't use blockchain. This is a survey that was conducted by PricewaterhouseCoopers. The three biggest reasons are cost and cost predictability are absent in blockchains. The second is people are just unsure how to start. The technology stack isn't something they're used to. And then finally, people don't know how these blockchains are going to be upgraded. So let's talk about each one of these. These are the tactical barriers to mainstream adoption that we think are very important to solve. Let's talk about unpredictable pricing. So if you look at the chart on the left, with Amazon, as AWS grew and usage grew, pricing actually went down, which is something you'd expect from economies of scale. The opposite was kind of true with blockchains. On Ethereum, as an example, or Bitcoin, transaction fees actually go up as the network grows. And this is an issue because businesses want to be able to budget how they, how much it'll cost for their infrastructure. The way we solve this is with a technical integration we're doing with Chainlink. We'll actually, for the first time, have protocol level use of decentralized oracles. The chart on the right shows the rough schema for this. But if people want to know more about this, I don't want to spend too much time on this given a limited time period here. But there's a Medium article both on the Chainlink and Casper Labs websites where we go into great amounts of detail about how this is actually achieved. And we're really excited about bringing this to bear. Second, let's talk about, people said we don't know where to start. And the issue is, look at the chart on the left. The number of Solidity developers, and even if you take blockchain developers in general, is 15 to 20,000, is dwarfed by the total developers out there, which is 26 million. And developers worldwide, this is a survey from Stack Overflow. They do this every year with about 90,000 responses. Say that the languages they want to use are things like Rust, TypeScript, Python. Toward that end, at Casper Labs, we've built the system such that it's extremely developer friendly. We support Rust and assembly script right out the gate, and over time, we can support anything that compiles down to WASM bytecode. So we made it, super friendly for developers to work on, familiar tools and languages, account management that's human readable, and very easy instrumentation and testing. We have Grafana, GraphQL, and all the regular tools that you'd expect as one of those 26 million developers just built into our system. In addition to that, we have a bunch of other features. Like, for example, you have unprecedented control over your contracts. We have an innovative permissions model. So you can actually control how your contracts are called. You can go completely open source and say it's callable by anyone. You can say, no, I only want my application to call this through this key. And either modality is available. We're giving freedom to the developers. And then one of other features, flexible multi-signature. Now, this is part of 8 or 9 features we have, but I just wanted to talk about, a couple here. You can learn more on our website. Let's talk a little bit about flexible multi-signature and why we think that's important. We actually have weighted keys with deploys. So, if you want different parts of management to be able to deploy different parts of the app, you can actually make that happen fairly easily. So the first example on top, let's say 5 people with an equal weight of 10 decide to conduct a transaction, the threshold's met, the deploy happens, and execution happens. Now, let's say there's another thing that requires a weight of 10, and one guy with 5 and one guy with 1 vote on this. The deployment goes across, but the threshold hasn't been met and it doesn't execute. Now, this enables you to do all sorts of things like fancy debt instruments. You could even conduct a full shareholder vote on the blockchain based on how many shares people own. So we think this level of flexibility will really help with mainstream adoption. And then finally, one of the things we're trying to target are upgrades. I mean, if you look at Salesforce, Microsoft, and Linux, all of them have had multiple upgrades. And we're talking about core upgrades to the system. Since we've built a very abstracted and modular protocol, just to ensure that our ability to upgrade it and the community's ability to upgrade it, either via smart contract or some kind of easy system which people can come to consensus on, is possible. We think this is extremely important because blockchains have been notoriously tough to upgrade, and we've built an abstracted and modular system anticipating this and knowing that 10 years from now, we're all going to know new things, and we want to make sure we're able to integrate them into the blockchain. Milestones to date, we started coding in late November of 2018. We raised our Series A in 2019, raised about $15 million, equity only. We didn't sell a single token. Launched our testnet on March 31st, and we will launch sometime this year. Really excited, lots of great applications that we're talking to that want to build on us, and really honored that we've had a lot of support from the staking community as well. So thanks for having me on. Let's start building. And if you'd like to reach out to us, there's a Telegram link and Twitter link there. And of course, welcome to check out our website. We have more contact information there as well. And it's just my name on Telegram, Mrinal Manohar. So if anyone wants to reach out to me, just feel free to DM me there. There we go.
That's all I had. Great PowerPoint, great visuals.
Thank you. Thank you, Wilson.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
So have a few follow-up questions. I think we have about at least like good 6 or 7 minutes. I'm gonna go swinging for the fences on this first one. So we started talking about the differences between proof of work and proof of stake on the centralization side. And
Right.
do you kind of see where proof of stake can kind of be like proof of work in a sense where if it starts being offered by exchange services and other staking providers, where it kind of acts similar to like mining pools?
Yes, it could. It certainly could, right? Which is why you've got to be careful to ensure as much distribution as possible. So, look, the answer is it certainly could, right? Economies of scale have effects across, any sort of modality you create. But the distinction I'd create is it doesn't, in proof of work, if you don't have enough scale, it's almost impossible to build a viable business around it. Because if you don't have enough scale, because it's a randomized reward, you may never see a reward. In proof of stake, even if you're a small business, you can create a very viable business because your rewards are highly predictable. Like I know with this stake, if I'm online and processing transactions at 100% efficiency versus the emission curve, I know exactly what I'm going to earn. So I completely agree. Cartelization could still happen. We have a couple of mechanics that actually prevent cartelization. I'm going to put them in the link.
Please do.
I'm going to put them in the chat. But we've thought about this, and there are definitely a couple of things that we've done to prevent it or disincentivize it. That being said, it is certainly possible. It'd be harder to do on our protocol than most, but it's certainly possible, of course.
No, that's interesting. Definitely have to check out that information. That's great to know. On the so you started talking about the how on Bitcoin and Ethereum, as usage goes up, fees go up as well, and that creates a serious issue for businesses trying to build on them. The Chainlink integration, and you didn't want to go into in depth, but maybe a little bit more explanation on that side as to one, like how does it lower fees as users go up, and then two, a lot of these platforms, the fees go up because of their issuance schedules, and the fees actually add more to the security. So wouldn't this in any sense disincentivize helping secure the network or stake the network in any way?
Yeah, so I'll answer your second question first.
Okay.
Emission and transaction fee distributions are completely decoupled from each other in our protocol.
Okay.
So the security that's established based on emission is completely decoupled. So these two things wouldn't affect each other. But let's answer the first question. So step one is more stabilization of fees. So I'll talk about stabilization of fees and then talk about how hopefully eventually they start getting lower as usage goes up. So the way the stabilization of fees works is right now gas or the price you pay for a transaction is based only in the native cryptocurrency, and it's not bridged to the fiat value of that transaction in any way. And so what the Chainlink integration does really is bridges the value of gas and how it's metered to some sort of to a price feed.
Yep.
Now we're working through the specifics, like how many exchanges do you want to include? Is there a way to hack this? So these are all things that we're going through in quite a lot of detail with them. But effectively, let's say we decide at launch, and by we I mean the staking community, right? We can't force people to do anything. So a staking community decides, we want to offer 1 cent transactions. And so at launch, you know what the price of a token is. 3 days from then, the token could have gone up or gone down. And accordingly, the system will readjust gas. So it'll be over the long term stable. So you know what it is relative to fiat there. Now let's talk about long term. Why would that go down? Now, people, stakers and validators are incented to increase usage of the network. And so it's in their economic interest to get more people using it and therefore reduce fees. So, all we can do, like us in the staking community, is issue like thought leadership pieces and talk about like, hey, if we think that price was to adjust downward by this much, This is the kind of things that would happen to usage. And plus, we'll get feedback from customers as well. Like, hey, at 1 cent a transaction, I'm not that interested, but at a quarter, I'd really, really use this network.
Mhm.
And that way, all the validators can come to consensus on where they set the new metering rate. Now, of course, there's a lot of things around this that we're building to ensure security and people don't go rogue and like make it $5,000 a transaction. But given everything is about reaching consensus amongst validators, in aggregate, they will generally get to the Pareto efficient point where they have suitable rewards to run viable businesses, but the network is easy enough to use and pricing is stable enough that it encourages a lot of participation. The initial feedback we've gotten from all the validators in our staking pool is they think this is a great idea, and they think this will really encourage use on the system. And so, before we went down this path, we asked around. I mean, if the feedback from the validators was like, no way, I'm not signing up for that, it would have probably gone in another direction.
Would this in any way enable someone to pay fees in something other than the native currency?
Yes, absolutely. So because it's bridged that way, you could use external. You could almost use, I know, as a next speaker, like something like Flexa, or a lot of these like fiat on ramps to actually pay for gas, and that is really how we want it to be eventually. I mean, when we think about the protocol, we actually want to be 99% invisible. We want everyone to use Casper Labs, but not know that they're using it. Meaning the actual interaction for it to by the end user looks like everything else. We all use Akamai and other content delivery networks every day. This video is probably being fed through Akamai or some sort of content delivery network. These are multi-billion-dollar businesses. None of us know we're using them. And I think for blockchain to really, really succeed, it's kind of like what Matthew Spoke talked about in his talk earlier. Like people aren't looking at the actual underlying problem, and it's too cumbersome to use. And I actually agree with him 100%. And that's really the ethos behind trying to be what I call 99% invisible where we can.
Yeah, no, that's a great way to put it. Very simple. And actually, speaking on that side, what kind of projects or developers have you seen come over? Are there people ready to start building on the network? Are they able to start building on the testnet at the moment?
Yes, you can start deploying contracts today, and we have a bunch deploying. So I can't talk about the specific companies because we're under NDA, but I can talk about use cases. Some of them are super interesting. So I'll go over 3 or 4. So there's one in the patent and copyright space that we're super excited about. So we've created a chain of custody solution that can really enable tracking of patents, licenses, copyrights, etc. There's one in the healthcare space, which is healthcare records management, that we're really, really excited about. There's one in the gig economy side. I know we've had some talks here where Matthew talked about that as well. We think that is a great use case. There's a couple of companies in that space we're also speaking with. And then supply chain management. There's quite a few supply chain management ones. Supply chain is actually, everyone said like that's going to be like the breakout use case in 2016, and we've not really seen it happen. I think there are fundamental reasons why. I hope we fix them. But we'd love to have like a solid proof of concept. And to Matthew's point, like there's being horizontal and being vertical. We're horizontal in terms of what the platform is, but in terms of proof of concepts, we think launching 3 or 4 really high quality ones is what we think will capture imagination. There isn't a single app today other than transferring money that's actually blockchain based that people use on a regular basis. We're hoping we can help change that.
Yeah. Do you think those are really like technical problems, or more just kind of getting over the kind of the sales cycle hurdle of how people adopt technology?
Both. I mean, there are some. The technical issue has been, the blockchains that do scale tend to sacrifice decentralization and security a bit, and so having a fully decentralized, scalable blockchain helps there. But some of it is just, I agree with you. It's a sales cycle, right? Where the internet was in 1995. There aren't really proper browsers out there. It's cumbersome to use. Everyone's excited about the idea, but it's slow, clunky, and if you're not a computer scientist, you can't use it. And that's kind of where we are right now. That'll change over time, hopefully. And yeah, that's part of it too. But I do think the technical nuts and bolts, especially developers don't have the tools that they're comfortable with, has stopped the wave from happening. But it'll happen. Well, whether it's us or someone else, someone's going to figure this out.
We agree. We completely agree, and I think that's why we're all here. But yeah. I think on top of that, we're running out of time. So, final point: where can we learn more, and how can we keep in touch with everything Casper Labs is doing?
Yeah, so there's our Telegram channel, t.me/Casper Labs. You also have a mailing list which you can join via our website at casperlabs.io. And feel free to reach out to me on Telegram as well. It's just my first name and last name, Renal Manohar. The one with an underline after it is a fake guy. Do not send him Bitcoin, please.
Renal, thank you for joining us. That was an excellent presentation. Love the Q&A. Really appreciate it. And hope to talk to you soon.
Cheers, Wilson.
Cheers.
Bye.